XRP holders across the entire internet are subtly asking the same question right now. What just happened? Seriously, something feels different this time. Not just the charts, not just the price action, not just another random crypto rumor spreading online. The entire energy surrounding XRP suddenly feels different. Social media exploded overnight. Influencers started posting nonstop. Crypto communities went completely insane. And investors everywhere suddenly started wondering whether Ripple and XRP may be entering one of the biggest moments in their entire history. Now, before we go any further, let's make something extremely important clear immediately. Because the crypto world loves exaggeration more than almost anything on Earth. This video is not saying XRP officially replaced the global banking system overnight. This is not claiming every institution secretly flipped a switch yesterday. And this is definitely not financial advice. But what we are going to discuss is why so many investors suddenly believe something major may be changing behind the scenes in digital finance. And why XRP supporters everywhere feel like the market might finally be waking up to what Ripple has been building toward for years. Because honestly, once you start connecting all the dots happening globally right now, the excitement suddenly starts making much more sense. Now think carefully about the world we're living in today compared to just 5 or 6 years ago. Back then, crypto was mostly viewed as internet speculation. Banks mocked blockchain publicly. Governments barely understood digital assets. Mainstream media treated crypto like a temporary trend, and most institutions wanted nothing to do with the industry. But now, the entire environment changed. Governments are building crypto regulations. Banks are researching blockchain infrastructure. Stable coins are becoming integrated into financial systems. Tokenization conversations are accelerating globally. Asset managers are investing billions into digital asset ecosystems. And central banks around the world are actively researching digital currencies. That's not hype anymore. That's transformation happening in real time. And XRP supporters believe Ripple may already be positioned directly inside some of the biggest institutional conversations happening across modern finance today. Now here's where things become extremely important. Ripple never built primarily around meme culture. Ripple focused on infrastructure, cross-border settlement, liquidity movement, financial interoperability, payment modernization. Those are trillion-dollar institutional conversations. And for years, many retail investors ignore them completely because social media hype cycles dominate attention instead. But suddenly, the financial world itself appears to be shifting toward the exact problems Ripple spent years trying to solve. That's why XRP communities online suddenly feel more energized than they have in a long time. Because supporters genuinely believe the market may finally be starting to understand Ripple's long-term vision. Now again, balance matters here, because speculation spreads insanely fast online. There is no confirmed announcement proving XRP officially replaced global payment systems overnight. Nobody secretly announced XRP as the world reserve currency yesterday. But what is happening is something much bigger. The financial system itself is evolving rapidly, and that evolution naturally creates more attention around blockchain infrastructure connected to liquidity and settlement systems, especially XRP. Now, let's talk about why liquidity matters so much, because honestly, most average investors still don't fully understand how important liquidity movement actually is inside global finance. Every single day, trillions of dollars move around the world. International trade, government transfers, bank settlements, corporate transactions, foreign exchange markets. The scale is almost impossible for ordinary people to even imagine. And yet, despite modern technology everywhere else in society, much of the infrastructure handling those financial movements still contains major inefficiencies. Cross-border transfers can take days. Intermediary banks increase operational costs. Liquidity becomes trapped across multiple jurisdictions. Settlement delays create unnecessary friction globally. That's crazy when you really think about it. We live in a world where artificial intelligence can create realistic videos instantly, where communication happens globally in seconds, where smartphones are more powerful than old supercomputers. Yet moving money internationally can still feel surprisingly outdated behind the scenes. That's exactly why institutions worldwide started aggressively exploring blockchain infrastructure more seriously. Because efficiency matters enormously in finance. Saving time means saving money. Improving settlement means improving liquidity. Reducing friction means improving global competitiveness. And Ripple positioned itself directly around those exact conversations years before most people even understood what tokenization was. Now, this is where things become even more interesting, because tokenization itself may become one of the biggest financial revolutions of the next decade. And honestly, most people still don't fully understand how massive this transformation could eventually become. Imagine stocks moving digitally across blockchain systems, real estate becoming tokenized globally, government bonds settling instantly, assets trading 24/7 worldwide, programmable financial ecosystems operating automatically across borders. That future sounds futuristic, but major institutions are actively preparing for it right now. Banks are modernizing settlement infrastructure. Asset managers are investing billions into tokenized products. Governments are building digital finance regulations. Financial systems globally are evolving much faster than average people realize. Now think carefully about what happens if enormous amounts of tokenized value eventually move across digital systems globally. Liquidity becomes critical. Settlement speed becomes essential. Interoperability between networks becomes incredibly valuable. That's exactly why XRP supporters believe Ripple could eventually play a major role in future financial infrastructure, because Ripple focused specifically on liquidity movement between systems years before most institutions publicly cared about these conversations. Now here's another reason social media suddenly exploded with XRP, which has happened. Because many investors feel like multiple pieces of the puzzle are finally starting to connect simultaneously. Political conversations around crypto are changing. Regulations are becoming clearer. Institutional adoption is accelerating. Tokenization is becoming mainstream discussion. Banks are integrating blockchain research. Governments are preparing digital currency frameworks. And the world economy itself appears to be transitioning toward more digital infrastructure overall. That combination creates enormous excitement, because supporters believe Ripple may already be aligned with where the financial world is heading next. Now, another fascinating part of this entire story is psychology. And honestly, psychology drives markets far more than most people realize. People are emotional, especially during periods of uncertainty. Inflation continues hurting purchasing power globally. Debt levels remain enormous. Housing became harder to afford. Traditional savings feel weaker. And younger generations increasingly feel disconnected from traditional financial opportunities. That emotional frustration matters, because historically, periods of economic pressure often accelerate interest in disruptive technologies promising transformation. People begin searching for alternatives, searching for future opportunities, searching for systems connected to where the world might be heading next. That's why blockchain communities exploded globally. And XRP specifically remains emotionally powerful because supporters believe Ripple focus on infrastructure rather than hype cycles. Now, let's talk about institutional sentiment, because honestly, this may be one of the biggest reasons XRP excitement suddenly intensified recently. A few years ago, crypto is useless. Today, how do we regulate digital assets? How do we tokenize markets? How do we modernize settlement systems? How do we integrate blockchain infrastructure safely? That's an enormous shift. And honestly, most people still underestimate how important this change really is. Because once institutions stop asking whether blockchain matters and start asking how to implement it, the industry enters a completely different stage of evolution. That's where many XRP supporters believe we may already be heading. Now, obviously, critics still raise legitimate concerns. Competition remains intense. Stablecoins continue growing aggressively. Governments may prioritize centralized digital currencies instead. Banks may develop private blockchain systems. And regulations remain uncertain globally. Nobody knows exactly how the future unfolds. But one thing feels increasingly undeniable now. The financial world is transforming faster than most people expected. Digital infrastructure is expanding globally. Institutional blockchain adoption is accelerating. Tokenization conversations are exploding. Governments are preparing for digital financial ecosystems. And XRP continues remaining directly connected to discussions surrounding liquidity movement, settlement modernization, and cross-border financial infrastructure. That's exactly why so many investors suddenly feel like something important may finally be happening. Because whether people love XRP or hate it, the future of finance appears increasingly digital, and the race to dominate that future may already be underway behind the scenes. Now, here's where this entire situation starts becoming even crazier. Because once you really begin understanding how fast the financial world is changing right now, you realize why so many investors suddenly feel like XRP may be standing directly in the middle of one of the biggest transitions in modern financial history. And honestly, this is no longer just about crypto charts anymore. This is about infrastructure, power, liquidity, global finance, and the race to control the next generation of money movement worldwide. Because think about what's happening globally right now, all at the same time. Governments are building digital currency frameworks. Banks are modernizing payment systems. Asset managers are tokenizing financial products. Artificial intelligence is reshaping industries, and blockchain technology is slowly moving from speculation into institutional implementation. That's a massive shift happening right in front of us. And the craziest part? Most average people still have absolutely no idea how large this transformation could eventually become. Now think carefully about this. For decades, traditional finance operated through systems designed for an older technological era. Wire transfers, settlement delays, intermediary banking systems, fragmented liquidity structures. Those systems worked, but they were never truly optimized for a hyper-digital global economy operating 24/7. That's exactly why modernization pressure is increasing everywhere now, because the world itself changed faster than traditional financial infrastructure. Consumers expect instant access. Businesses expect faster settlement. Global trade moves continuously. Digital economies operate nonstop. And institutions everywhere are under enormous pressure to improve efficiency before they fall behind technologically. That's where Ripple enters the conversation. Because Ripple focused specifically on solving inefficiencies surrounding cross-border liquidity and settlement years before most institutions even publicly care about blockchain technology. That matters a lot, because while many crypto projects focus mainly on hype cycles and speculation, Ripple focused directly on institutional infrastructure conversations, cross-border settlement, liquidity movement, financial interoperability, payment modernization. Those are trillion-dollar systems. And now suddenly, the financial world itself appears to be moving toward the exact areas Ripple spent years building around. That's why XRP communities feel more emotional and energized recently, because supporters genuinely believe the market may finally be starting to recognize Ripple's long-term positioning. Now again, balance matters because social media exaggerates absolutely everything. There is no official announcement proving XRP secretly replaced the entire banking system yesterday. But what's creating so much excitement is the broader direction of global finance itself. Because honestly, the world today looks completely different compared to even a few years ago. Back then, crypto is useless. Blockchain has no real purpose. Digital assets will disappear. Today, governments are regulating digital assets. Banks are integrating blockchain research. Tokenization became mainstream institutional discussion. Stablecoins are becoming financial infrastructure tools. And central banks globally are researching digital currencies aggressively. That's an enormous transformation in an incredibly short amount of time. And XRP supporters believe Ripple may already be positioned around some of the most important future financial infrastructure conversations happening globally. Now let's talk about tokenization again, because honestly, this topic may completely reshape finance over the next decade. Most people still don't fully understand how massive tokenization could eventually become. Imagine stocks settling instantly digitally, real estate becoming globally tradable, government bonds moving through blockchain systems, assets trading 24/7 worldwide, programmable financial ecosystems operating automatically across borders. That future sounds futuristic, but major institutions are actively preparing for it right now. BlackRock discusses tokenization openly. Banks are modernizing settlement systems aggressively. Governments are developing digital finance regulations. Financial infrastructure worldwide is evolving much faster than average people realize. Now think carefully about what happens if enormous amounts of tokenized value eventually move through digital ecosystems globally. Liquidity becomes one of the most important components of the entire system. Settlement efficiency becomes critical. Interoperability between networks becomes incredibly valuable. That's exactly why XRP supporters believe Ripple could eventually become highly important long-term, because Ripple focused directly on moving liquidity efficiently between systems. Now here's another reason people suddenly started screaming, XRP, what just happened? Because many investors feel like multiple major developments are happening simultaneously. Political discussions around crypto are changing rapidly. Regulatory frameworks are expanding globally. Institutional adoption continues accelerating. Banks are integrating blockchain technology more seriously. Governments are preparing digital currency systems. And financial infrastructure modernization is becoming increasingly urgent worldwide. That combination creates enormous speculation around assets connected to institutional utility, especially XRP. Now, another fascinating part of this entire story is interoperability. And honestly, interoperability may become one of the most important concepts in future finance. Because even if different countries create separate digital currencies, even if banks build different blockchain systems, even if tokenized ecosystems emerge globally, those systems still need efficient ways to communicate and move liquidity between each other. Without interoperability, digital finance becomes fragmented and inefficient. Ripple focused specifically on solving interoperability challenges between systems. That's one reason supporters believe Ripple's infrastructure could eventually become extremely valuable in a tokenized global economy. Now, let's talk emotionally for a second, because honestly, this is why XRP communities remain so passionate after all these years. A lot of people today feel financially exhausted. Inflation continues hurting purchasing power. Housing became more expensive. Debt levels exploded globally. Traditional savings feel weaker every year. And younger generations increasingly feel like traditional systems no longer create the same opportunities previous generations once had. That emotional frustration matters psychologically. Because historically, periods of financial instability often accelerate interest in disruptive technologies promising transformation. People start searching for alternatives, searching for future opportunities, searching for systems connected to where the world might eventually head next. That emotional energy fuels massive blockchain communities globally. And XRP specifically remains emotionally powerful because supporters believe Ripple focus on infrastructure rather than short-term hype cycles. Now, another major factor driving excitement recently is institutional psychology itself. Institutions move slowly until suddenly they move fast. That's important to understand. Large financial systems require time, research, compliance, regulation, infrastructure testing, operational integration. But once institutions feel regulatory clarity improving, adoption can accelerate much faster than people expect. That's why investors pay enormous attention to government regulations and institutional announcements today, because policy decisions could dramatically influence the speed of blockchain integration globally. Now, obviously, critics still raise legitimate concerns too. Competition remains intense. Stablecoins continue expanding aggressively. Governments may prioritize centralized systems instead. Banks could develop entirely private blockchain infrastructure, and regulations themselves may evolve unpredictably. Nobody knows exactly how the story ends. But one thing feels increasingly undeniable now. The financial world is transforming rapidly. Digital infrastructure is expanding globally. Tokenization conversations are accelerating. Institutional blockchain adoption is growing. Governments are preparing for digital financial ecosystems. And XRP continues remaining directly connected to discussions surrounding liquidity movement. settlement modernization, and cross-border interoperability. That's exactly why so many investors suddenly feel like something major may be unfolding right now behind the scenes. Because whether people realize it or not, the future of finance may already be starting to arrive.